Bert, Tua's coming back this week, it looks like. How's that going over in the league? What's the league can't be overly excited about this whole situation.
Yeah, I think they're nervous. I don't know, guys. Like, did you guys like sort of sense the defiance in his voice? You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes,
Like, and
I know
it's
exactly what you're talking about. He's like, yeah, I realize this is a mammoth risk, but I don't care.
right, and I think it sort of underscores that like the divide between the general public and these athletes, right? Um, this isn't the '90s anymore. Like in the '90s, um, there was, I mean, information that was being hidden from pro football players on the risk of concussions. Like the players legitimately didn't know what they were getting themselves into on a week to week basis. Now, there's so much information out there, and these guys are making decisions on what to do with their bodies. Now, does that mean that the Dolphins aren't nervous? Does that mean the league isn't nervous? No, of course not. I'm sure they're going to be massively nervous every time Tua gets hit from here on out. That something like this could happen again. And the optics of what happened on that Thursday night back in September are really really bad, not just for the NFL but for the sport in general. But the mentality of these guys and kind of their identities and all the rest of it, like I really didn't think Tua was ever going to consider retirement based on what I know about who he is, the culture he comes from, all of that different stuff. And it's a weird thing because it's like, and this is something that like not a lot of us can relate with, but I mean, imagine being so good at something that when you were a teenager, it became like your entire identity.
No, I know why he's doing it. My question is, my thing is like, what if you're the guy that hits him? Like what if you hit him clean and then he never gets up and you ruined him? It almost seems like death by police.
So you're saying like if you were like the defensive end who's rushing, like you would be careful about hitting him,
No,
like,
I'd hit him because that's my job. But then it's unfair because if I hit him clean and he ends up being like a vegetable or it screws up his whole life.
I don't think that's the long-term fear. And this is what probably makes it easier for Tua to go back in there and people be rooting for him, because if he takes that one more hit, Fred, and he doesn't end up playing after that, I don't think it's going to be a catastrophic, he can't get up, he's unable to function anymore. It will be the one hit that knocks him out of football and 20 years from now puts him in a state where he's non-functioning because of the season.
All right, well, then I'm responsible for ruining his career, and it's not like a knee that's going to get operated on, and sure, it's not going to get around as well as he did. It's going to make his life miserable, and he'll end up, and I don't know, it just seems like death by police. When people don't have the balls to kill themselves, so they go out and they like have the police do it. Like, it just seems like something like that. Like, you're putting someone in the situation where, because it's his decision to play. There's nothing Miami can do about it. I understand all that. It's just if I'm doing my job and I hit him, I mean, the last hit wasn't even a hit.
Yeah, he ran into Damar Hamlin and didn't get
right.
up.
I mean, I don't think any of us would have like looked at that hit and said, "Yeah, the guy definitely had a concussion." Like there was
No, that's what's scary about it. That's what was so scary.
Like, the head bouncing off the turf, and it's like, oh yeah, like that's bad. And this was not that. This was like he kind of almost like leaned into Hamlin, and I mean, quite honestly, like. And way more of it was on him than was on Hamlin.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, sure. It was all on him. Hamlin was standing there and he ran into him. Yeah.
Almost tried to like back off a little bit, so I I think it's a tricky situation for a lot of people involved, but the one making the decision is Tua. And yeah, I mean it's again, like there are going to be a lot of nervous people, but that's not going to change anything, and ultimately he's got to make the decision for himself. And pro athletes just there's a big divide in the way pro athletes view this sort of thing than the way we
right. Sure. My Tua can do whatever he wants. That's my issue. All right. So let's get into Hopkins going to Kansas City. Kansas City's undefeated, but the offense hasn't looked great. What's Hopkins got left, and what does that mean for the Chiefs going forward?
Yeah, so he practiced yesterday. I mean, they've seen all the stuff that you would think, like the catch radius, the hands. I don't know that this works everywhere, but I think it will work in Kansas City for the same reason. For 20 years in New England, these things seem to always work for Tom Brady. Um, you know, there's so many parallels, guys, between these Chiefs and I mean, I think the Chiefs have become what the Patriots were.
Oh, sir, sure, yeah.
Where like you can take a guy like this, and it may not work for 26 of the 32 teams, but this guy's going to come up with a big catch in the divisional round or something.
Well,
You know
I
what
mean,
I mean?
yeah, Smith Schuster, like, comes
Yeah.
up with big catches. He sucks. All right, as we're moving on, the Jets play the Patriots. This is on Sunday. They're playing your home team. Adams was whatever on Sunday. Reddick's playing this week. Is there any chance the Patriots win this game? And if the Jets win, is there any chance this is a get right situation where everything falls into place?
Well, for the Patriots, if they win this game, then there are a lot of people in trouble in New York. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, the
Yeah,
organization should
I
fold.
don't. I don't think so. I thought the first time they played, it was a bad matchup for the Patriots because of the Jets' defensive line. We'll see what they get from Hassan Reddick this week, but even without Jermaine Johnson, and with some moving parts, the Jets should be able to win this game on what their defensive line does to the Patriots' offensive line alone. It's also going to be interesting because this is going to be the first time now is a limited sample, right? But this is going to be the first time that a team has seen Drake May twice. So some of those defensive players are going to have the benefit of having gone against him. Obviously, there's some tape out there on May, so that part of it's going to be really interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think the Jets still can get it together. Like the AFC isn't quite as strong as we thought it would be. And, you look at like the second place teams in a lot of these divisions. I don't know. I mean, it might only take 9 or 10 wins to make the playoffs, outside of the Chiefs. What's going on in the West? Like, there's not another team with a winning record out there. You figure the Texans are going to win the South. What else is in that division, right? In the North, I think the North is probably the strongest division in the conference. And Baltimore and Pittsburgh are really good. What's Cincinnati's record going to be? So, like, I feel like those 6 and 7 spots in the AFC are really going to be, I mean, up for grabs. And again, I think you can get there with 9 or 10 wins. So certainly the Jets have an opportunity here to get their what together. Whether or not that happens, I don't know, because it feels like the owner is furiously just pulling levers every time something goes wrong.
Yeah,
You know
well,
what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
well, what else is he supposed to do? I mean, it's a
he
disaster.
fires the coach, they lose. They trade for Devontae Adams, they lose. I think I told you guys this week. I think I told you guys last week, like the Devontae Adams thing, they hadn't even put in a hard offer for Devontae until after they fired Saleh. So it's just like so much of this decision seems that this decision making seems so haphazard,
It is haphazard, but then what else is he supposed to do? If he's damned if he does, if he damns if he doesn't. If they lose 2 games and he hasn't fired Saul and he hasn't gotten Adams and he doesn't make a deal with Reddick, I mean, what are they going to do? I mean, it's a terrible franchise. I mean, like people like make fun
No
of
one knows
like
it better
Johnson.
than you, Fred.
Yeah, I know, but people like make fun of Johnson for doing it. It's like, well, if he didn't do it, you'd be yelling at him too. Like the organization sucks, and it's his fault ultimately. But like the stuff he's done this year, it's just like, all right. Like, I mean, what do you want him to do? He brought in more talent.
Yeah.
Talent that's worked with Aaron Rodgers, which apparently, dude, Aaron Rodgers can't move, and you have to move to be a quarterback in the NFL now. I mean, Stafford can move. We were talking about it last hour. You saw it. Stafford can still run around. He's been hit more than Rodgers has.
I mean, Stafford's touchdown pass in the first half was a magic act. And he's not even a great athlete. I mean, I'm with you. Like Rodgers, I think the last time Rodgers actually really looked like himself and the way he moves around and athletically and all of that was in that Thursday night game against the Patriots. He's looked a little old since.
Yeah, and everyone's like, the line sucks, and it's like, all right, maybe they suck, but who knows? Because every other quarterback in the NFL can extend plays. You're not getting 5 seconds back there. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, you got to be able to move around. You got to be able to avoid the rush. We've talked about this. Offensive lines can't keep up with pass rushing anymore. Like, guys are going to get through. Like
the athletes are just too good.
Yeah. So
athletes in the defensive line. I mean, you look at like I mean, you have guys who are 290 pounds with six packs who run 4.5.
Yeah.
Like now it's impossible. I mean, that's part of the reason why you do need to have like a baseline of athleticism now that maybe you didn't have to have 30 years ago to play the position.
Just real briefly, Bert, is there anything the Patriots can do differently offensively this week and a way to, I don't know, defensively has obviously been an issue, but if they can figure out a way to tackle, maybe to stop some yards after contact, they might have a chance, but none of that will make a difference unless they can get something going.
Running the football would be good.
That's what I was going to say. Hardy is like, I think reestablishing, what they were doing early in the year, and becoming a more physical run game again, and really getting like Ramondre Stevenson going. It's, I mean, I think that does more for your young quarterback than anything, because you could talk about wanting to lean into him and hey, like he's our best player now. And I think he probably was your best player on Sunday. But, I think the best thing you can do for your young quarterback is manage the down and distance and manage the score. And the best way to do that is by keeping him out of second and 15 and third and 12. And the way you do that is by being consistent running the ball. And creating opportunities for yourself where the defense has to respect that. And, if you're in second and 6 and third and 2 consistently, you're going to make things a whole lot easier in your young quarterback, and you're ultimately going to get more out of him.
You better be able to run the ball, because DJ Reed's back, and I have news for you. As crappy as the Jets are, there's no receiver you have that's going to be open in that game. That's just not going to happen. I mean, it's not. I mean, the corners are too good. You might be able to run the ball, those 7 yards a clip, and you might be able to pick off Rodgers 4 times, so have fun with that.
If you like that clip, and how could you not? Check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for the latest from the Sports Hub, download at 985thesportshub.com.